All right, so Minnesota wins this game over Montreal 2-0 in a game that seemed not lackluster, but lacking excitement, I guess. And it wasn't completely dead either. It wasn't like the second period against San Jose. There was some action in this game, but I guess I never felt nervous in this game, mainly because it's Montreal. And yeah, it's basically because it was Montreal. Not to saying I'm overestimating them, because they put up a good fight, but I just never thought that Minnesota would lose to Montreal in this scenario. Just didn't think it would happen. Not to mention, Minnesota has the NHL's second star this week in Kevin Fiala. 5 goals, 5 assists in only 4 games. He was rolling, and so was his line of Fiala, Goudreau, and Boldy. They are incredible, especially in the absence of the Grief line, because Greenway's still out, and Marcus Foligno wasn't in this game, mainly because they wanted to rest him. So what happens instead? They bring up Mitchell Chaffee from the Iowa Wild, making his NHL debut. He has 37 points in 45 games for the Iowa Wild and is their leading scorer with 22 goals. So it's a good player that we're bringing up. It's not Margot Rossi, but it's still a good player. So Foligno and Greenway are out tonight. Dumba and Merrill are still out, and probably good to leave them out for this game because I don't think we needed them. But yeah, those 4 were out, and Minnesota is playing a now newly led Martin St. Louis Montreal Canadiens, with Carey Price coming back in his second game back. He would face off against Cam Talbot in this game. So 2 pretty good goaltenders to start off. And Minnesota is notorious for beating teams in the Eastern Conference. We have a 23, 5-4 record versus the Eastern Conference this year. That is, I think, the best in the NHL. So the game eventually starts, and Minnesota is starting to get rolling right away. Good forecheck, good hustle, and they are generating chances. Not only because they are just dominating in the offensive zone, but because Montreal defensemen just keep throwing the puck away. They never find a good breakout, and so Minnesota is taking advantage of it and firing everything at Carey Price. If Price is not in net, if Montembeault's in net, this game could have looked a hell of a lot more ugly for Montreal. Price kept them in this, without a doubt. Eventually, all that pressure leads to a Gallagher tripping penalty at 13:52, so Minnesota goes on the power play. What ends up happening is a Montreal defender loses his stick on the power play. And when you lose your stick on the power play, you have 2 options. Either 1, you stay there and try and use your body to block shots like some sort of weird ventriloquist puppet doll, trying to see if you can just tip anything. Or 2, you run the risk of going to the penalty box, knowing that they're going to be down another man, it's going to be a 5-on-3, and trying to get back with a new stick. The Montreal defender, didn't catch his name, he decides to take the latter option and go to the bench to get a new stick. That ends up being costly because it's now a makeshift 5-on-3 for Minnesota, and guess who scores? Not Kaprizov, although he did get the assist on this. Not Zuccarello, although he also got the assist on this. Guess who? Power play goal, 30th of the season at 13:03 from the NHL's second star of the week, Kevin Fiala. The guy we still should re-sign at all costs. Zuccarello gets his 53rd assist of the season, still a franchise record, and Kaprizov gets his 51st, which is chasing Zuccarello's right now. It's ridiculous how close he is with that. Then at 9:55, Jonas Brodin gets a tripping penalty, so now Montreal's on the power play trying to get one back. And this power play looked really dangerous. I'm talking, there were multiple close chances where backdoor opportunities were there. There were multiple shots that just went just wide or just high of the net. Couple blocks that were really big for the Wild defensemen. But having Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield on that power play is paying off for Montreal. Even if they didn't get anything this game, they were 0-3 in the power play this game, but they looked dangerous. They looked very dangerous on this power play. Close chances, just barely bouncing over their sticks and just going wide. They connect on one of those, it could be a whole different game here. But luckily, they're unable to get the opportunity. And Montreal is playing with heart now because they're playing under Martin St. Louis, who is letting them play looser, letting them play more freely. And when you got Suzuki and Caulfield, who love to play freely, You get chances. Even when you're one of the worst teams in the league, you get opportunities. You still get chances. They don't look like Philly. They look more like Buffalo. And Buffalo is on the rise. This team could be too, because rock bottom, the only way to go is up. But Kulikov gets a tripping penalty as well at 2:53, and now here comes that dangerous Montreal power play again. Only this time, we put out Gaudreau and Fiala to counter that. And Gaudreau gets a shorthanded chance. Then they go back into the Minnesota zone, where Fiala gets a shorthanded chance that leads to an almost breakaway, which leads to Dennis Wideman hooking him and generating a 4-on-4. Fiala really wanted a penalty shot for this, but they just didn't give it to him. I mean, kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it definitely could have been a penalty shot. Either way, it's a 4-on-4 for a minute 18. But nothing ends up getting generated off of that, because neither side really generated any zone time. It's weird for 4-on-4. 3-on-3, obviously you see it in overtime, and it's a lot more looser. You're trying to get something. Chances are very scary when they happen, because there's a lot of chances that can be generated, and you're a lot closer together. 5-on-5, ice is way too spread. It just looks kind of normal, because it is normal. 4-on-4 is, it's like a weird middle. Like nobody really appreciates 4-on-4 anymore. But regardless, that 4-on-4 ends, and Talbot has to make one more big save before the period ends. With 36 seconds to go, a shorthanded opportunity by Tyler Pitlick, shorthanded, comes flying into the zone, gets a good shot, but not good enough to stop Talbot, who gloves it out of midair. And just like that, first period's over. Good hustle, good forecheck by Minnesota leads to them having the lead. But I said Montreal will come back, and they will continue to fight. Shots ended up being 8-8 in this period, so it was still pretty even. But again, Minnesota seemed like the better of the play. Now, we go to the second period, where the first parts of the second period seem kind of, lackadaisical. Back and forth passing. Nobody's generating anything in the offensive zone. Dump and chase leads to dump and chase leads to dump and chase. Nothing's happening. So, to write something down, I literally just wrote, I've only heard music from Queen. And that seemed to be the main thing. I heard Radio Gaga. I heard the thing with Freddie Mercury where they go, "Ay-oh," and the crowd repeats it back. There was Bohemian. There was Bohemian Rhapsody. I think there was Hammer to Fall. We were literally like a nonstop barrel of songs that just kept rolling through. And that was pretty much the main part of the second period. Nothing really happened in the beginning of the second. Eventually, 15-21, some skirmish, but nothing really too big. Chafee accidentally bumps into Price when he's got the puck covered up. So because Price is a great person and Montreal fans want to, build a statue in his honor and would defend him at all costs, the players, bump into Chafee and, scrum, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really ends up happening. Then at 11:09, Rem Pitlick. Yeah, the guy we used to have. Remember the guy that got a hat trick against Seattle way back? Yeah, Rem Pitlick on the Canadiens. He gets an opportunity on another breakaway, just like Tyler Pitlick did. But once again, Talbot stands up strong and is able to stop it. But eventually, the floodgates open, and finally, Talbot ends up letting one through at 7:47. Tyler Pitlick gets the goal. It's basically a crazy play in front where it's just a loose scrum. It ends up bouncing back to Pitlick, and he fires it on net. That is until an immediate challenge by Dean Evison, Darby Hendrickson, and all the Wild staff. They literally phoned this in immediately, basically saying, yeah, challenge that. Because it looked like goaltender interference, which I honestly didn't see until I looked at the replay. Basically, what happened was somebody from Montreal pushed Freddie Gaudreau into Cam Talbot, impeding him from trying to play the puck. And therefore, after looking at it, they realized, that's goaltender interference because Talbot couldn't have made the save. Montreal fans are obviously pissed, but that's what it looked like. Literally, Talbot could not have made this save because he was impeded not by Gaudreau, but by the guy who pushed Gaudreau into the net. And it's weird to think, incidental contact like that can take away a goal, but it can. And that's what happened. So Because of that, Minnesota still has a 1-goal lead. And once again, I wrote down here, Montreal is picking up the pressure and picking up the intensity, but Talbot is standing on his head. Even with that goal going in, he still is looking strong. He's still looking fine. And then eventually the second fizzles out like that, where Montreal is definitely showing more of a fight than they were in the first and generating more chances. Minnesota's starting to look a little lackadaisical, almost. But at the same time, it's Montreal, and nobody's really expecting Montreal to go off, but they are. So shots at the end of the second period were 17-15 in favor of the Canadiens. So we go to the third period, where 17:31 left in the third period. The Wild trying to break away, trying to get a little bit more of an insurance goal. They finally get one. Matt Boldy gets his 15th of the season, assisted by Kevin Fiala and Jordy Ben. So Fiala has a 2-point game again. He had a 4-point game against San Jose. He has a 2.1 tonight. So he's rolling. Basically, Fiala shoots this puck that goes off of Price's pad. Boldy fires a shot. It misses and then bounces back off the boards, to which Boldy responds, okay, I'm just going to go between the legs and bounce it off of Carey Price and put it into the back of the net. And so that's exactly what he does. Puck comes right back to him. He goes in between the legs. He doesn't lift the puck, but I mean, he throws it off of, not Talbot. He throws it off of Carey Price and it goes in. NHL Network is like treating this like it's a greater goal than it is. It's cool because it's between the legs, so it's a good play. I would have liked it if he roofed it. That would have been cooler, but it's a goal. It's a goal, and Minnesota's now up 2-0, which is good. And with that assist for Fiala, him and Zuccarello are now tied for 5th in franchise history in points with 75. Leading the charge, you guessed it, Kirill Kaprizov with 94 points this season. He's rolling. At 12:15, I wrote Montreal starting to buzz, but good block shots by Minnesota. This is when the defense for Minnesota finally helped out Talbot. This is when they started to generate more blocked shots and started to get into the shooting lane. Spurgeon took one that looked like stung him for a little bit, but he was fine. More blocks by Kulikov, Middleton. I think Goudreau got some nice blocks. Hartman got some good blocks. Like everybody was pitching in to block shots and help out Talbot. Then at 11:17, Talbot denies the best chance of the game for Montreal, in which Nick Suzuki drives to the net, nearly gets the puck around nearly gets the puck around Cam Talbot's pad. But that kick save manages to get just enough of the puck and is able to clear it out. And it was a close chance because the crowd was about to jump up, but then they had to sit back down because it just didn't go in. And Minnesota is able to, survive the storm.